Hello again, everyone. It's Jess, and welcome back to Nose in a Book. I'm going to be doing a fall reading recommendations video for you guys. I did this video last year and I really enjoyed doing it. Last year I did 13 books that I recommend reading during the fall or during the Halloween time. So some of them were more spooky, some of them were just fall vibes. But I highly recommend those still, and I went back and watched it to make sure I didn't have any duplicates. If you missed that video, I'll go ahead and link it in the description below so you can check them out and have some more fun reading recommendations for the fall time. Today I have 5 books that I would like to recommend for you guys to read during the fall or the spooky Halloween time. My requirements for the stack of books was either it had to give me those fall vibes where it just felt really fall-y and I just felt like I was in the crisp autumn air while I was reading it, and or it had to have something to do with the supernatural paranormal, like witches, vampires, monsters, that kind of thing. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the stack of books here. The first book that I would like to recommend for you tonight is Jinx by Meg Cabot. You guys all know how much I love Meg Cabot. I've talked about all of her books a million times, but I don't think I've ever mentioned Jinx, which makes me really sad. I read this one probably back in high school, I want to say, and I absolutely love it. I love all of Meg Cabot's books. This book follows our main character, Jean, and Jean has been unlucky her whole life. She's just been unlucky, and she has earned the nickname Jinx. But now her luck has really turned for the worse, and something has happened in her hometown that has caused her to have to leave the town and move in with her aunt and uncle in New York City to kind of get a little bit of a fresh start so she doesn't have that hanging over her head. Now, Jean also has a cousin, and her cousin is basically your perfect, popular, beautiful, lovely high school girl. But she has a dark secret, and she's afraid that Jinx is going to share that secret with the world. I don't even remember what the secret is at this point. I remember most of the plot of this, but I don't remember that part. Anyways, so Jinx is just kind of trying to change her luck around and kind of start over in this new place, but her bad luck seems to follow her, and it seems to be because it's possible she could have been cursed at birth. But you never know, sometimes a curse can become a blessing. I think this would be a great fall read. I highly recommend it, and I just think it's a fun, spooky story. Meg Cabot has an awesome, hilarious writing style. She never fails to make me laugh out loud at least one time in her books. So if you're looking for more of a lighthearted, spooky read, I highly recommend this one. The next book that I would like to recommend for you, I also haven't read since high school, and that is Katara and Lord Death by Martine Leavitt. This book was one of my absolute all-time favorite books that I remember reading in the past. It's like Harry Potter and then this book. Because I just remember reading it and falling in love with it. And I haven't read it since then because even though it's really short, I haven't owned it and I haven't been able to find it. And I was on this hunt to find this exact cover and this exact copy for it, and I just could never find it. And then this last year I found it finally at a Bookman's, and I was so excited. I was pretty much jumping up and down in the middle of the store excited. So there's a little backstory on that. So this book is set in the medieval times. It follows our main character, Katara, and she has gotten separated from people and lost in the woods, wandering around, loses track of time, and ends up basically starting to freeze to death in the woods. And then Death comes to take her away because she's dying. So instead of letting him take her right away, she starts kind of telling him stories to try to bide her time and see if she can escape this imminent death a little bit. And then Death kind of decides, okay, I'll go along with this. I will give you 3 days to find your true love, and if you find him, I will not take you. But if you can't find him, then you have to come with me. So of course she takes the offer, and she spends the rest of the book looking for her true love, trying to figure out who it might be. And it's just got those fall vibes. Of course, Death is a character in a book, which you guys know that I love so much. And it's mostly because of this book that I love Death as a character. And I just can't recommend this book enough. I need to do a reread of it because, like I said, it's been since high school that I read it last. But I absolutely adored it back then, and I would hope that I would love it still now. Also, just look at this cover for me. This was the first original cover that I read this book in. I know you're not supposed to judge books by covers, but I love this art. I have this on a calendar, and it's probably my favorite piece of art, and I don't even know what it's called. I should know. If it's my favorite, I should know what it is, but it's my favorite. I just absolutely love it. It's so pretty. Anyways, so I highly recommend this for the fall time if you're looking for more of a folk tale, like set in medieval times. If you like death as a main character, I highly recommend this one. And it's pretty short. The next book that I have to recommend for you was a recent read for me. I read this one in January this year as part of the Ostentatious Book Club, and that is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. Now, I have to tell you in advance, this book is probably my favorite book that I've read in 2017 so far. I've read 54 books this year, and this is on the top of the list. I absolutely love this book. It's very big, which is I think why I put off reading it for so long, but I absolutely love it. It's amazing. It would be an amazing read at any time of year, but I believe especially in the fall time because it's got those fall-y vibes. Thornfield, which is the house that most of this takes place at, has kind of that spooky, crisp fall vibe, and so it's almost got like a gothic feel to me when I'm reading it. This follows our main character Jane from childhood all the way to adulthood. As a child, her parents have died, and so her aunt and uncle take her in, and that's like kind of in this time period, of course, is very looked down upon because she really has nothing and no one. She's basically like has no worth. Now her uncle, who was her mother's brother, passed away, and he was pretty much the only one who liked her, and so now she's stuck with her aunt and her cousins, who are absolute terrors, and then ends up getting sent to a school for girls, which is again a terrible place. And finally, at the end of all of that, she becomes a governess at the house of Mr. Edward Rochester, and that's when the whole story kind of just flies off the pages and into your face. It's awesome. I absolutely love Jane as a character. I love Rochester as a character. I just think they're absolutely wonderful. Of course, there's romance, but there's also a mystery. And the mystery, it's not like even just a mystery. It's got spooky vibes, like creepy in the night, ghostish vibes. And I love that about this book. I thought it was really, really well done, and I just enjoyed it so much. And I'm not a big spooky, scary, jumpy person, but this one definitely has that creep factor in there. It's so good. So if you're looking for a classic with lots of lovely romance, but also lots of dark, spooky, mysterious happenings, I highly recommend Jane Eyre. If you do pick up Jane Eyre this fall, I also highly recommend the musical written by Paul Gordon. That is so perfectly tied in with this book. He is amazing at just taking the book itself, the lyrics, straight out of the book. Like, just songs just come straight out of here. The music melds with them so perfectly, and I just can't get over it. It's absolutely amazing. So if you do pick up this book, I highly recommend you checking that out as well. And if you do check it out, you can decide you might want to listen to it while reading. You might want to listen to it before you read it, but it might also spoil some things. So maybe don't listen to it before. But you might want to listen along with it. You might want to read it and then listen to it. I don't know, but it's absolutely wonderful, and you should definitely check out the musical because it's amazing. The next book is This Savage Song by Victoria Schwab. I read this book last year, and I really liked it a lot. This is my first Victoria Schwab book that I've ever read, and I really enjoyed her writing style. Now, if you saw my October TBR, I have the final book in this duet on that TBR, which is This Dark Duet. So I kind of talked about the plot of this book a little bit in there, but I'm kind of going to go a little bit more into detail. No spoilers, but just a little more into details. You guys know a little bit more what it's about. So basically, in this world, it's like post-apocalyptic-ish. So in this world, acts of violence actually manifest themselves as monsters in the physical world. No one really knows what started it or how it happened. At least in this book, we don't know. This follows our two main characters, August and Kate. Now, Kate's father is kind of like this overlordy dictator-ish person. So basically in between, so there's like two parts of the town or the world basically where this has happened, and there's like this red zone, and then there's one part of the area and then another part of the area, and Kate's father rules like the rich side of the red zone. So the red zone is basically like this wasteland where the monsters are just running rampant, and so the other sides are like the safe areas, and it's not safe to really travel through that area, especially on foot in any way, and even in a car it's like really, really dangerous. So Kate's father rules like the rich side, where they literally pay to be protected from the monsters, and they're like the rich people, so you really can only live in that side of town if you pay for it. And then So Kate really looks up to her father and is trying really hard to be like him. And then we have August, who lives on the other side of the red zone, and his father's kind of the leader of that, and I won't get into too much detail with that. But August has some peculiarities, and he is probably my favorite character in this book. I really like him a lot, and I highly recommend you read this one. I can't go into any more detail without spoiling anything, but it definitely has the creepy monster-y vibe, and it's really, like I said, Victoria Schwab's writing is absolutely beautiful, so it's really well written. And yeah, I can't recommend this one enough, and hopefully at the end of this month I'll be able to also recommend Our Dark Duet for you guys, because hopefully I'll have read it then. The final book I want to recommend for you tonight is Truth Witch by Susan Dennard. This is the first book in the Witchlands series. The second book is Wind Witch, which I still haven't read yet for some reason. But I absolutely adored this book. This follows our main character, Sophia, who is a truth witch, which means she can discern truth from lie, which makes her very sought after, either to be killed or to be used. So she's kind of always been on the run, and she has a best friend named Isolde, who's a thread witch, which means she can see the threads that bind or break or any of those things between people. So it's really cool. The magic system is awesome. And it just kind of follows the adventures that they get into. And I love reading fantasy during the fall. Also, the writing style is absolutely gorgeous. There were multiple times where I just took my breath away, literally. And the action scenes are so well written. The characters are perfect. I just love it so much. And I can't recommend this book enough. And especially as a fall read, I think you guys would really enjoy it. Hopefully, I'll also be able to recommend Wind Witch for you soon, because I've heard amazing things about the sequel. I don't know what it is about me and sequels, but I never get to them when I intend to, and I think it's partially because most series that I've read have always been, I'm like way behind and I have like 5 books I have to catch up on, and so I never end up buying the next book as soon as it comes out, or if I do, I definitely don't read it immediately, so I'm not really used to being on top of a series as it's being released, and I think that's the problem. So hopefully that'll be something I remedy in the next couple of years. It'll probably take that long before it gets fixed. So these are all the books I would like to recommend for you guys for the fall spooky-ish months of the year. I hope that you enjoyed this video and that you got something good out of it. Let me know what you're reading this fall, and if you've read any of these books or if you decide to pick any of them up. I would love to hear what you have to say down in the comments below. Alright guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time with another video.